Bulldogs. They won the district title outright, 14-0 undefeated district record. I'm joined by their head coach, Darryll Craft. And coach, that is a huge title for your team. You get the 1 seed out of your district going into the playoffs. Overall, how impressed were you with your team's performance in district play?
I was very impressed. It's our first time we've ever won district in boys basketball outright. We shared a district title 4 or 5 years ago, and I just thought we went and we took care of business. We had 14 games. Only one of our opponents stayed within 7 points, or really 10 points or less. Every other one was a double-digit win, and I just thought we got better, shot the ball better, played better defense throughout the entire course of the district play. And it's a great accomplishment anytime you can go undefeated and in a district, play 14 games, and I was real happy with the kids.
This is a team with a lot of experience coming back from last year's squad. I recognize most every name that was in the top of the scoring charts, and it seemed like guys like Julian Perry and guys like Steele Douglas, they were putting in their top performances against the key teams in district needing to beat, like Lovejoy, like Wiley. Julian put up 30 in the first game against Lovejoy.
We have so many people that can score, and we have so many options that it's really hard to take away anyone. I try to tell Julian at the beginning of the year when we started district that every night he should think that he's going to be the best player on the floor, and he needs to take over games. Well, that first game we played at home against Lovejoy was a very big game. They've been the district champion, I think, the last 3 or 4 years, and he came out and put 30 up. And then throughout the course of the district, we've had, I would say, 6 or 7 different kids lead us in scoring. Whether it be Steele that you mentioned, Steele, is able to shoot the 3, get the ball to the rack and score. He's just fearless inside. Our point guard, Joel Otabu, is just phenomenal scoring and getting the ball to the open guys. His defense has caused us so much havoc on any team that we played this year, district or non-district. Colin Kernan is probably the best shooter I've ever coached, and he can just flat out score from anywhere, and he's crafty enough to get inside and find people. And then, then toward the end of the year, we had Julian's little brother, even though he's 6'6".
Little brother.
Yeah, Jarrett Perry led us in scoring the last district game. So, we're very fortunate. We have a lot of kids that can score, and we play pretty good defense to be able to come out 14-0, and it was a great season for him.
My little brother is several inches taller than me, too. It just always seems to be the younger brother that overtakes the older brother. What was that like to have the 2 brothers on the team playing with each other at the same time?
Well, I don't really see them as brothers because I see them as 2 basketball players helping us to win. I would say for them, it's got to be something that they really enjoy, especially the older brother, Julian, being able to look down at his little brother and just seeing the strides that he's made. But to me, they're just so valuable for us because Julian gives us that leadership. He gives us that tough defense on one end and the ability to score. And then Jared, he came around slower than the other players because he's a freshman. But we played him early in the year, 3 or 4 minutes. Then toward the middle of the year, he got 10 or 12. And then right there at the Christmas break, we starting him. And he's just, defensively, he's just inside. He just gives us that thing that we need because we want to pressure the ball. And if for some reason, we lose contact with the ball and they get to the rack, there he is to be able to block shots. And I think one game he had like 8 block shots in 1 quarter that we statted. And, so he just gives us that missing piece, that inside guy. And now, like I said, the last game, he puts up 16, led us in scoring. So that part of his game has come along. He's really developed into a really nice player.
Another one of your players I really like is Joel Otubu. He's only 5'7" as a guard, and sometimes for those small guards, when they get into the lane, it's tough to score with all the traffic. How hard does this guy have to work, to be able to put on some of the performances he does, scoring and also defensively?
If you watch him in a game, you probably don't think he's working that hard because of the fact that he just makes it look so easy. He's very smart. But the thing that I like about Joel, if you come to one of our practices, he is probably the one kid that works as hard as anyone we have in our program every day. He wants to be good. He doesn't want to fail. He doesn't want to lose. And he can just do so many things. Defensively, he just a constant pest on whoever he's guarding, no matter how quick they are. He has a good sense of balance, doesn't reach very often, and in that way, he's always in good position and has himself in position to play good defense. On the other end, he can shoot the 3, he can get to the rack, he sees the floor. He's just a tremendous ball player.
Going into the playoffs, you're going to take on the number 4 seed out of District 14-4A, which is Marshall, at 6 o'clock tonight at Wills Point High School. And normally that sounds like, oh, and it's going to be an easy game, 4 seed out of that team. But they're one of those teams that you feel is really dangerous, that you really have to be sharp looking out for them.
Yeah, they're a 4th seed in the rankings and the seedings of their district. But some of the games they've lost is because their returning MVP of last year's district was out with an illness. He has now come back, and I know he's played the last 2 games in district, which happens to be against the number 1 and number 2 seeds. They played the number 1 seed, Texas High, at Texas High. Had a lead late in the game, ended up losing by 3. I got to go scout them Wednesday night when it was somewhat bad weather. They canceled the game on Tuesday, and they played the number 2 seed, Sulphur Springs, and beat them by 21. So this is not a normal 4th seed who's just trying to get in, and they've got a point guard that is as quick as can be, and then they got a 6'4" kid inside that's really tough, and they got a couple kids from outside that can shoot the ball. So we're going to have our hands full. They're going to run and jump us all over the place. We got to protect the ball. We can't turn the ball over, and we have to do a good job on keeping 5, which is their point guard, out of the lane, and we got to do a good job on 35 and keeping him off the boards.
You beat 2 East Texas schools last year in the playoffs. You beat, I believe it was Texas High and Jacksonville. How much does that help you going against these teams, because you don't get to see them very often during the season?
I think those 2 teams in particular, they really help us a lot because they play some of the same style that this Marshall team is going to play. Texas High and Jacksonville wanted to press us all over the floor. They wanted us to be uncomfortable. They wanted us to take us out of a rhythm of shooting, and we were able to play those games and play, I thought, pretty good to advance to the 3rd round after those 2 games. And that's what we talk about with our kids today. There's not going to be a lot of me up there calling set plays or running our dribble drive, because of the fact that we're either going to turn the ball over, hopefully not, or we're going to get a layup or a good look at the 3, because they're not going to let you get into any sets. They're not going to let you be comfortable out there running whatever we want to run. So our kids are going to have to do a saying that my assistant coach has talked to them about for 4 years. They're going to be basketball players. They're going to have to make basketball plays. And it's not going to come from coaches. It's going to be, hey, you know what to do. Go out there and find an open teammate, knock down the shot, and then get back on defense.
Yeah, it's those intelligent plays just throughout the course of the game that generally make the difference when it comes down to it. Last year, we had that 23-21 overtime win, one of the strangest games, and strange things happen in the playoffs. Are we going to see another scoreline like that this year?
As long as we got to 23 and the other teams got to 21, I'll be okay with that. I mean, we go into each game with a game plan that we think is going to give our kids the best opportunity. And, I would say tonight's game is going to probably be a little bit higher scoring. Will there be a team out there that we may have to try to win in the 20s, 30s, or 40s? I don't know yet. But if that's the case, as long as we got the most points at the end of the night, that's all I care about.
In the 4th quarter at the end of games, kind of like in that game where it was, holding on to the ball possession because there's no shot clock in high school. In the 4th quarter games that are tight, do coaches in the playoffs tend to be more conservative? Do you try with 4 minutes left to kind of pull the ball out and start passing around rather than maybe 2 minutes left? That's
a very good question. I think it really depends on each coach. And not only that, I'd imagine it depends on the personnel. With us, since we're such a senior-laden team, I can go either way. And it really depends on the feel of the game. If that game has been up and down and you think you're going to get another 10 or 15 possessions, then we're going to go up and down. If we think there's only 2 or 3 possessions maybe left in the game because if we turn it over, they're going to come down and hold it, then we may hold it before they hold it. And I think it really depends on the flow of the game and your personnel. With us, I don't think it really matters to us if we're up and down or if we're in the 40s and 50s, because we have done both of those and been successful either way that anybody wants to play us. So I think I'll just wait until tonight and get to feel the game and see, like I said, what the flow is. And if the game's in the 80s, then you're going to have some more possessions. If the game's already only in the 40s and there's only 2 or 3 minutes left, each possession matters a little bit more than a game that's in the 80s.
And now I know, final question is, I know you're going to take it one game at a time. That's how you are. That's how coaches should be, one game at a time. But what do you think is the potential for this team in this playoff run? And is there even a ceiling for them given all the experience coming back from last year's squad and this incredible district run that you had?
Well, I will say this. When we started the season back in August, we had 5 goals. We wanted to make the playoffs. We wanted to be a district champion. We wanted to make it to the regional tournament. We wanted to be a state qualifier. And then we wanted to be a state championship. So those are still our 5 goals, and those are still all 5 obtainable. And it starts tonight, hopefully, with a win over Marshall.
2 goals down, 3 more to go. Coach Craft, thanks again for joining us on Sports Talk.
Thanks for having me.
It's Darryll Craft, head coach of McKinney North Bulldogs. They open up the playoffs tonight at 6 o'clock at Wills Point High School. They're taking on a dangerous Marshall team, looking to get that win and then continue on. We want to thank all of the coaches for stopping by on today's show. McKinney North opens up the playoffs at Wills Point High School tonight at 6 o'clock against Marshall. If they win, they'll advance to the area round on Friday. We have some updates on postseason play in a couple of sports. In girls basketball, McKinney High were down by Skyline and Boyd were defeated by Richardson in the first round of the girls basketball playoffs. North, though, is still going strong after surviving in a close 42-39 win over Red Oak, the team who bounced them from last year's playoffs. The Lady Bulldogs next play Arlington Seguin tonight at 7 o'clock at the Colony High School. And at the UIL State Tournament in wrestling, Chandler Duran of North claimed 4th place in the 132-pound division. Kyle Simons of Boyd finished 5th in the 220-pound division, and Matt Morse of Boyd also took 5th place in the 285-pound division. Congrats to those 3 wrestlers for being the top finishers from MISD, and congrats to all of the wrestlers who made the state tournament. Softball is on decks for the show next week. Until then, from all of us here at Sports Talk, I'm Tyler Sloan. Have a great week.